From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE, and for the first time in a while, I'll be answering your questions during this live broadcast about fourth stimulus checks, fifth stimulus, third stimulus checks, student loan debt forgiveness, business grants going live in less than 12 hours from now, student loan debt forgiveness, all this and more. And also the surprises about the capital gains tax happening or not happening, the Bernie Sanders new tax announced today, the Mitt Romney reduction or increases about SSI and SSDI, the Ron Wyden $6,000 business, the $6,000 stimulus, and also the new SSI and SSDI reform coming in the fall. I'll be answering all your questions and giving you a big recap and my opinion about what's happening. This is Afternoons LALATE. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE. Our first of two shows on Afternoons LALATE. In 2 hours from now, I'm back with that big, jaw-dropping monolith of a broadcast that covers everything from those monthly stimulus checks on the fourth stimulus package to the SSI reform to the business grants. That big, massive broadcast in 2 hours from now. But this one, I want to answer your questions live on air. So if you have questions, jump into the live chat in just a second from now. First, I'm going to give you an update about all the items and my opinion about what's happening with all the items. But first, if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. First, there's a lot of items that are really happening this week. There's no less than somewhere between 8 to 12 stimulus items that are either new or now happening this week. So let's go through each of them. First, we have the third stimulus check. A new wave of third stimulus checks of $1,400 are landing in bank accounts by direct deposit. And away we go. This is wave 6. Next, fourth stimulus. Fourth stimulus is those monthly stimulus checks that start in the month of July. Anywhere from $1,400 to $2,000. Everywhere from 6 months to 18 months. Anywhere from everyone from $75,000 or less single individual income or SSI and SSDI. Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to pay out in July? Yes. Do I think you're going to get the check in July? Yes. Do I think you're going to get 18 months of checks? No. Do I think you're going to get 6 months of checks? Yes. Do I think you're going to get the $2,000? Hard to say. Really hard to say. Do I think you're going to get a paper check or a direct deposit? No. I think it's going to be that debit card. I think it's going to be the Harris-Warren plan of 2020 where they send you a debit card and they replenish it every month with funds. What month will we get the stimulus check? I believe it's going to be July, for July. Then the other items between fourth and fifth stimulus, those standalone bills, what about them and what's my opinion of them? The Ron Wyden, the $6,000 or $250 a week for 6 months if you're on PUA. Do I think it's going to get to a vote as a bill itself and get finalized? No, I think it's going to slide into the fourth stimulus. I think it's going to slide into the fourth stimulus. And I think it's going to pass it that way. It just makes sense. It's just so, why would anyone oppose it? It's wonderful. It's absolutely a great idea. Bernie Sanders, minimum wage hike from third stimulus. Is he going to make another effort for it at fourth stimulus? Absolutely. Is it going to pass? No. No, it's not going to pass. What else? How about Elizabeth Warren's wealth tax? Is she going to make a push to get that into fourth stimulus? I think so. Is it going to get called for a vote as a standalone bill? Hard to say. Really hard to say. She's holding a big press conference that next week. And remember, the wealth tax is something that could be used for $2,400 of SSI and SSDI. Are we going to get $2,400 of SSI and SSDI? I don't think you're going to get the full $2,400 because remember, $2,400 referred to 12 months. We're currently at April. And so that was thinking January to December. But I think there's still a possibility of getting $200 a month. Yes. What about fifth stimulus? Fifth stimulus, where the president proposes to do 5 years of $3,600 a child, 17 to newborn. Basically $24,000 to young children. Do I think he's going to put it in there? Yes. Do I think it's going to pass? No. No way. I just think at one point it starts to look ridiculous. And giving people $3,000 or $4,000 is one thing. But if you're a 4-year-old and you're getting $24,000, I just think this is starting to look ridiculous. How about capital gains tax rate talk yesterday? Yes, that also is a part of a ridiculousness. Capital gains currently is 20% or something. I think it actually is exactly 20%. The Bloomberg News report yesterday said the president was considering taking the capital gains tax and raising it to 48%. I mean, taking half of people's money. Going to happen? No way, ever. Never. What did Goldman Sachs say? Just what I said. Goldman Sachs came out today and said, it's not going to happen. But Goldman Sachs did say he did want to do it. I got to tell you, here is my also personal opinion. You don't want to look like, and I've in other recordings today, I've tried to figure out what adjective or adverb to refer to this, but you don't want to look greedy in a way when you're trying to tax things or do things. That 40% looked greedy. It looked too aggressive. It looked unfounded. It looked economically illogical. It just looked too enormous. 20 to 24% or 25%. The Goldman Sachs report says 28%. Okay, that's fine. But 40%? That didn't look good. And it just, so today the press secretary was asked about it and she completely avoided the question. Everyone knew what he said. Will the impact of that capital gains tax be affected by Wall Street and you for a while to come, at least another week? Yes, absolutely. Bitcoin is down. Several of the cryptos are down 15, 20% today. Wall Street was down severely yesterday. You can't do these type of things. They scare people. They really scare people. Bernie Sanders, standalone bill today that would take people who are low income, who have a few Tesla shares, sell it for a profit and make $500 profit, and take half of their money, well, not half of their money, a major chunk of their money, and give it to people whose children going to college and that person makes $120,000 a year. Illogical? Yes. Gonna happen? Never. Why was it brought up to this week? I don't know. He had this bill 3 years ago and he reintroduced this week. It's a reason it didn't pass 3 years ago. No one liked it then. Bad for optics, very bad for optics. You don't want to just keep on proposing legislation that's illogical, because then when we talk about stimulus checks, which is logical, and people look at the amount and they're like, that's a lot of money for stimulus checks. Oh, you're that guy that did that crazy bill last week. You don't want that optics. So I'm not happy. I'm not happy that Bernie Sanders is introducing fringe legislation at the same time we're trying to get this out the door. SSI reform, SSI and SSDI, the raising your benefits. Will this happen? Yes. It should have happened decades ago. Will they do it exactly as they're proposing as I covered it? Yes, I think it's going to really happen. When do I think you're going to see the actual money? They started in September, 2 months for recon under fifth stimulus, so October. I think you could see it maybe in your November benefits, but definitely by your December benefits. It's going to be incredible. Will it be retro? No, it won't be retro. It'll be going forward. And with that, that's to start Afternoons LA. I know that was a lot. And there's a lot more things to still cover in this broadcast. But let me jump into the live chat. If you have questions about any of those topics, just to start, drop your comments now and I'll answer them in a big Afternoons recording. How is everyone doing? Let me jump in the live chat. And there is Sherry. How can I contact the volunteers? The volunteers are on the community page and they appear in the description of this video at news.lalate.com/community. Let me see some more questions. I know the chat is delayed about 60 seconds. Let me see some of the other comments. Hazard pay, Josh. That's a great question. Do I see hazard pay happening? Hard to say. We have not seen the push that you would want for hazard pay. I have covered hazard pay with probably 400 videos, and I was watching one from in the database from the library from the archives a few days ago, and there was one where I was really pissed. And I saw why I was so pissed. I was so pissed because suddenly Democrats had just sort of abandoned the effort. And I think it was a few days ago where the president came out with a video talking about caregivers and how caregivers need a raise. I just don't know what happened to hazard pay with these Democrats. But I did see it starting to fall apart last year, and I certainly recorded on it. Do I see it happening? It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I just don't know why we have not seen Democrats be vocal for it. It just seems like an obvious thing to get behind. Great questions. Natalie, will SSD reform pertain to children's benefits? Yes. So all this reform is for everyone. Any help for single moms? Single moms, well, hell, Biden once you have $24,000 over 6 years. So yeah, a lot of money for single moms. That's under fifth stimulus, but under third stimulus, you're getting $3,600 or $3,000. Let me see some of the other stuff. Someone said, let me see the other stuff. I went to college for a basketball scholarship. Said someone. That was Jacqueline. How are you, Jacqueline? Angel. The $200 was Elizabeth Sandra Weiland's idea, not President Biden's. Tag her and push for it. Thank you, Angel. If Marie asks, if now Republican senators don't show to vote on the fourth recon, will that matter if they don't show? No, that does not matter. All that matters is the Democrats. So sad about hazard pay. For everyone on the front line, they deserve it. Sherry. It's a great comment, Sherry. And Sherry's comment is very important. Here is the issue. The issue is when an event is occurring, a pandemic, you want to compensate people at the time for what they're doing. And hazard pay was essential frontline workers. They were risking their lives. They were getting COVID. They were frontline. They were on the front. And they should be compensated. And they should have been the top priority for everyone at that time. And as time went on, the Democrats did not make them top priority. They, the HEROES Act in 2020 from Nancy Pelosi had salary raises for Department of Copyrights, new buildings, new freeways, money for foreign countries. And there was no money in there when we got to Heroes Light in the fall for hazard pay. And it really just showed there was a lack of prioritization. And certainly you saw me cover it a lot. I got sometimes very pissed in fall 2020 when Pelosi was talking about children, and never talking about people working. Suddenly this pandemic became about children and became less about people risking their lives to keep us fed, keep grocery stores open, keeping pharmacies open, firemen and police getting compensated, and suddenly it became nothing about frontline workers, and it became about children, and I think that's really where the tide had turned for the Democrats. Of course, the Republicans never did a penny for hazard pay. There is Paulina. LALATE, would you please explain the asset limit allocation allowance as the reform package? Okay, great question. That's from Paulina. Paulina, what a beautiful name. So the asset allocation. The asset allocation under fifth stimulus is one of the items they want to change. Basically, you can't keep a certain amount of assets on hand without going off of benefits. And you know what? I'm going to do even better. I'm going to actually read to you what they wrote. So rather than me paraphrasing it, I think I have it right in front of me. Yeah, I do. So let me read to you what they actually wrote about the asset allocation. Here it is. Increase the SSI asset limit and index it to inflation going forward. This is what they wrote. Over the last several decades, SSI has been, and when I say SSI, that's the term they used for the whole group. SSI has been permitted to be degrade with income and asset restrictions, failing to keep pace with both inflation and our country's evolving approach towards the inclusion of people with disability in the workforce. SSI's asset limit, last updated in 1984, restricts recipients to $2,000 in account resources, $3,000 for married couples. Because this limit is not indexed to inflation, it grows steadily more draconian each year. Lifting the asset cap is long overdue and is also consistent with your campaign commitments. So let me translate what that means if that is too hard to follow. The reason I put up Ron Wyden's picture is he is one of the people who signed it. What does it mean? How much money you have in the bank? How much money you have in the bank? It basically means you can keep money in the bank. You can keep money in the bank. So currently, dating back to 1984, you can't keep more than, what did she say in that letter? $2,000? You can't keep more than $2,000 in the bank or you lose benefits. They want to throw that away, throw it away so you can keep cash in the bank, and they're going to increase the amount per year based upon inflation. Great question. And hopefully that explained that as more. It's also piggybacked on the concept that if you do want to work, you don't have to. If you do want to work, you can keep that cash in the bank for whatever you work on. It all makes very good sense. Great question. Let me jump back into the live chat and see some of the other questions you're asking. And there we are. What is the so-called poverty rate? I don't have that in front of me. That was a great question. Let me see some more of the questions. Why are they dragging out the checks so far? Delbert. They're not. You know, there are times where I've said that this Congress drags things out. They're not. Reconciliation takes 2 months. And the only thing they've really dragged out is really the last 2 weeks. The president is the president. He has to try bipartisanship. He has to try it. But, you know, at this point, it's time to start the recon. Now, if you ask me that question next week, I'll say, yeah, he is dragging it out. We already got the clear message the Republicans don't want to do for a stimulus package. They don't want to do it. They don't want to give climate. They don't want to. So now it's time to start recon and get the checks out. Get this done. Get this done. July is just around the corner. So if you ask me that question a week from now, I will say he is dragging his feet. But, you know, he needed a certain amount of time to consider and getting this by bipartisanship. That time has now passed. So great question. I appreciate that question. Let me see more of the chat comments as well. It's time to do that SSI reform, says Phaedra. I agree. I mean, it's been time since the 1960s. Francine says hi, and there's Team Angel. If you got Social Security and disability, would you get a raise on each? Yes. Bonita. Great question. Let me see some other questions. Debbie, my ex-husband gets disability. Children receive benefits due to this. Will the children's benefits be increased? Yeah, so they're referring to the entire system. Now, everything is subject to change. This is what they're proposing. It's just a letter. It's not a bill. It's not a law. But this is what they're proposing. Why can't they get it done in June, says Carolyn? Because a recon is a very involved process. Because the way our Congress is set up, it takes a while. Jasmine, hey, all right. I filed tax as a married couple, married separately and claimed 2 kids. Do I qualify for the child tax credit? I file a tax as married separately. I don't know what the married separately means. That's confusing me. But if you have a tax return and that tax return shows you have 2 kids, you're good. If you file a tax return that shows you have 2 kids and they're 17 years or younger, you're good. Then you're getting the child tax credit. Great question. Really appreciate that one. That's a good one. Let me jump back into the live chat and see what other questions people are asking right now. Moolah is coming, says Colleen. I thought if they didn't get the recon started this week, there wouldn't be enough time to do it by July. No, I said May. No, they got to start it in May to get it done by July. Remember, it's 2 months. They knew we need monthly stimulus checks every month since last year. So what's their problem? Well, we have a different Congress now than we had last year. So we did not have Democrats in control last year. Let me see some of the other questions. Why do they keep on adding kids? Says Vicky. It's more for them than the rest of us. They have to make sure it's because it's $3,600. How much is it going to be for the 4 checks? So let me go over that graphic again. So the 4 checks for purposes of forced stimulus has not been decided, but let me show you what the proposals are. So the House proposal for the forced stimulus checks are $2,000 for the first month, $1,000 thereafter. Senators haven't given us the amount of the stimulus checks, but word on the street is it looks like this. $2,000 for the first month, $2,000 per month over 6 months, which would be $12,000. Or $1,400 a month, which over 6 months would be $8,400. The people behind it, House are progressives. The senators are moderate Democrats. And yes, this would be for you. If you make less than $75,000, this would be you. If you are on SSI and SDI, this is you. Household of 4 or less, this is you. Again, the household, 4 people, you would times that check by 4. Married couple, you time the check by 2. Times the check by 2. And let me jump back into the live chat and see any other questions you have. Send the $2,000, says Corey. I agree. Send out the checks first. We need it. Militia. I agree. Let's get it going. Why not a standalone bill? Militia. Really great question. I don't really know why. These standalone bills, we do have a lot of them. I covered them today. I'm covering more of them tonight on Evenings LALATE and Afternoons LALATE coming up after this. There's a lot of standalone bills. So packages are easier than standalone bills. Remember, standalone bills need more votes and need Republicans. Stimulus packages by recon don't need Republicans. So standalone bills are harder to pass. You need Republicans to support you. And if you don't have Republicans, then you can't do a standalone bill. So that's probably why I keep on reporting that I think a lot of these standalone items will likely slide into forced stimulus. And away we go. So meantime, coming up later today is the continuation of our big programming schedule. In 2 hours from now is Afternoons LALATE's second show. I hope you join me on that one. That will be a really good broadcast. And then it's followed by Evenings LALATE. 2 more shows and away we go. In 2 hours from now, Afternoons LALATE's second show kicks up, and then we go into Evenings LALATE, followed by LA Late Night. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. Great questions today. I look forward to seeing you in just a little bit. I'll be back on Afternoons LA in just about an hour and a half from now. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.